Great show today. Thanks for joining me live. It is live, again, I stress. To those of you new to it, who might be getting it on one of the podcasts, it is live, so you can interact with the programme Monday to Thursday at 5 o'clock UK time. It's live, I tells you. It's live. Well, this morning there was a meeting in Dublin, in Ireland, of the Oireachtas Special Committee on COVID-19 response. They got together, so they did, the Oireachtas Special Committee on COVID-19 response. So on the committee, of course, you've got doctors and public health officials and whatnot. This morning, committee members were putting questions to Dr. John Cuddihy. He's the Irish HSE Director of Public Health. And I think you'll find this kind of interesting.
To Dr. Cuddihy. Dr. Cuddihy, if somebody who is asymptomatic shows no symptoms whatsoever of COVID, and they have a heart attack and are brought to hospital and they're tested, and it is found that they have COVID and they die soon thereafter, but this is somebody who's demonstrated no symptoms whatsoever, are they recorded as a COVID death or not, if they have tested positive for COVID but ultimately came to hospital because they've had a heart attack or a stroke or fallen off the roof of a building or something like that?
We adhere to the World Health Organization case definition in terms of the recording and reporting of deaths.
So we adhere to the World Health Organization case definitions in terms of how we record deaths, right?
Deaths. So in the situation that you described, where someone has a positive COVID test, then it is a death in a confirmed COVID case. But such a case would be subject to a coroner's report as well. And as part of the ongoing validation of the data in our surveillance system, we would take additional details in relation to such.
Okay, but a coroner's report, sorry, I'm trying to be very brief. Obviously, a coroner's report takes a very long time to make its way through the system. So for now, they are recorded as a COVID death, but it may be that they are taken off that list at a later date. Is that what you're saying?
That's it.
That is exactly, he said. They may be taken off the list at a later date. I'd love to be questioning these guys in committee. Wouldn't you love to be there? Dr. Cuddihy, Richie Allen here, BBG Party. How you doing? So if a man jumps out of an aeroplane, Dr. Cuddihy, and the gombeen who packed his parachute, well, made a balls of it, resulting in the parachuter, well, his head hitting the ground at 555 miles an hour, and a post-mortem blood test shows that he had COVID, will he be listed as a COVID death? Yes, that's it, he will be, until months later a coroner might overturn it. Yeah. Think of it. Every bug, every viral strain that we are carrying, and as Dr. Vernon Coleman told us regularly, we're always carrying some sort of shite inside us, and this sort of shite is showing up on the PCR tests, and they're saying, bingo, we found another COVID case. So yes, you heard Dr. John Cuddihy, very, very, very high up Irish doctor, the HSE Director of Public Health, admitting that if a bloke falls off of a ladder and dies but tested positive for COVID, he'll be listed as a COVID death. Nothing to see here. Please disperse. And here in the UK today, you have city leaders, council leaders, Liverpool, Leeds, Manchester. They're all saying we're fooked. Mass redundancies, they are saying. High streets to be boarded up, they are saying. Town centres decaying. Everybody buying stuff from Jeff Bezos, and he ain't paying any taxes. And wait for it, Greater Manchester Mayor Andy Burnham, right, wants to change the pub curfew, which has just been set to 10 p.m, and that's killing pubs and venues. Well, Burnham wants it moved back to 9 p.m. Andy, come here, Andy, come here.
What kind of fuckery are you?
Yeah. Next, it'll be happy hour. The cases keep going up. No matter what we do, it'll be happy hour next between 5 and 6. You can have a drink. Pubs to open 1 hour a day. Will the country's third level students, dear listener, will they be going home to mummy and daddy, nana and granddad to celebrate the birth of our Lord? Will they? Will it be?
It'll be lonely this Christmas without you to hold.
Yeah, will it be lonely or will it be?
Driving home for Christmas.
What will it be?
Oh, I can't wait to see those faces.
Lovely. The Education Secretary Gavin Williamson said today whether students could go home or not. It was like waiting for the announcement as to which city will be granted the next Olympics or the next Olympics but one. Wait for it. Will the students be allowed to go home at Christmas? Gavin Williamson, what does he say?
We are going to work with universities to make sure that all students are supported to return home safely and spend Christmas with their loved ones.
Yes! Hey! Yeah, the students can go home at Christmas, but they might have to quarantine for 2 weeks before the end of term. This is just lunacy. They are considering ending the term 2 weeks earlier to allow the students stay there to avoid being chucked out of their halls of residence so that they can isolate for 2 weeks, flush the COVID out of their system, and then go and give Granny a hug. Give Granny a big hug, because the most important thing in the world is...
Don't kill Granny.
Don't kill Granny, or...
Enjoy yourself and kill a granny is the answer.
It's a binary choice. Who does he think he is? I'm going to channel my inner Gerald Celente, the great GC. Gerald Celente, of course, the Trends Journal publisher who'll be with me tomorrow. Who do these people think they are, eh? But the way it's going, we'll beg for the vaccine. In the end, this is the plan, presumably, to just screw with people's heads to the point where we'll beg for the vaccine. We'll be saying, like, vax the bejesus out of us. Hook it to my veins. Anything but this, you know. BBC Radio 5 Live Breakfast, news and current affairs, one of the most listened to breakfast shows in the UK in the mornings. You've heard me reference it 100,000 times. Rachel Burden, Nikki Campbell generally co-present. Nikki Campbell these days is co-presenting from his study because one of his daughters tested positive for COVID, even though Nikki said it barely brushed her. He's stuck at home in case he passes COVID onto people in the BBC corridors. It's mad, I tells you. Anyway, she starts at 6 o'clock in the morning. Nikki comes on at 6:30. And, well, today, Christmas plans, in light of the news about students, Christmas plans came up, and this is kind of interesting.
Nikki, good morning. How are you?
Good morning. I'm very well, thank you. How's it going?
Yeah, very, very good.
How are our plans for Christmas?
You have to pretend to like each other, you see.
Christmas.
Yeah, Christmas. What's going on at Christmas?
We might need to adjust. We might need to self-isolate the household if we're going to really enjoy our Christmas as much as we intend to.
We might have to self-isolate the household if we're going to enjoy Christmas as we intend to.
Flexibility is the order of the day, isn't it?
I think so, with all plans at the moment. Have you got, I have sort of various plans up in the air, they're all, let's just wait and see. They're
it's like
penciled
multiple
in,
choice.
but...
the multiple choice Christmas. We're on Christmas.
You see, if you're salaried at 6 figures a year, if you're earning a couple of £100,000 a year and you've got no worries, it's easy to sit and laugh rather than do your job and annihilate this nonsense, isn't it? It's easy to sit there and dick around in the studio and laugh and giggle while people's jobs are going down the pisser, you know. We'll laugh about self-isolating households. We'll laugh about working in studies. It's all a laugh. Unless you're 99% of the rest of us, then it's not a laugh.
Christmas already. Let's stop already.
I know. Look, I know people get bored and frustrated with us talking about Christmas, but the point is...
Anything, really.
Well, true.
Or anything is right.
It's that marker, and it's the sort of halfway point in this 6-month journey that we're on at the moment. So
Journey. We're on a journey, she says. Again, if you're salaried up the wazoo, you've got a big house in Cheshire, you've got no worries, really. You can talk about this as a journey. It's a nightmare for everybody else. But for the presenters on the Mickey Mouse stream media, well, it's a journey.
So I think it's not a sort of unreasonable, fixed point in the horizon for us to be trying to, work our way around.
Are we in the Truman
Is my
Show?
view.
What? Christ, Nicky's nearly there, is he? What was that?
In the horizon for us to be trying to, work our way around.
Are we in the Truman
Is my
Show?
view.
Are we in the Truman Show?
Yes, we are. I think we've been there for
We
some
are.
time.
Is that what it is? We're all in the Truman Show.
Hey?
Somebody tap the glass. Right, time for some weather.
Time for the weather. Somebody tap the glass. In the Truman Show, which I think Jim Carrey might have been awarded maybe a few gongs for. He was brilliant in it. A man is trapped on a virtual reality television show, of which he is blissfully unaware, if I remember it right. But it feels like real life to him. Everybody around him is an actor. But he's every move, I should say. And every thought that he has is manipulated by a television production company, which adopted him at birth. And his life is being streamed to the world 24/7. He's an ant under a microscope. You're nearly there, Nicky Campbell and Rachel Burden. Of course we're being played, and a tiny few of us, probably only a tiny few of us, are aware of it, while the majority are not. 16 minutes past the hour. You're listening to the Richie Allen Radio Show in Salford. Excited today. Fred Fairbrass was on the programme about 5 years ago. Would you believe? One half of the legendary Right Said Fred. Fred and Richard will join the programme later on. In a few minutes' time, we'll be joined by Dr. Sicharit Bhakti. Now, he's a very, very famous epidemiologist and doctor in Germany. And he's written a book with his wife, Dr. Karina Rice. And it is a book which blows the lid off of the pandemic and the measures enforced to keep us all safe. It's called Corona False Alarm. We're going to get into that in about 15 minutes with Dr. Sicharit Bhakti. I can't wait for that. Now, back to the present. Kay, the Ginger Ninja Burley, had Gillian Keegan on this morning. Amazingly, Gillian is the skills minister. The skills minister. I wonder if her department is subdivided. Is there a minister for keepy uppies? There must be a minister for keepy uppies. There must be. No? All right. Kay wanted to take on the new rules, which include, the new rules include no singing in the pubs. No singing in the pubs.
Basically, well, definitely, you're going to ban singing and dancing in pubs. You're going to ban... This is like something from 1984. You couldn't believe it, I tell you.
Jesus, Kay and Nicky Campbell, I don't know, maybe there is corona fatigue. You know? Maybe amongst the countries, I won't say top, because none of them can hold a candle to many of the presenters I've worked with in the independent media. I won't say top, but the most recognisable presenters in the country seem to have corona fatigue, and maybe they're just starting to ask one or two questions.
Basically, well, definitely, you're going to ban singing and dancing in pubs. You're going to ban... This is like something from 1984. You couldn't believe it, I tell you. I can't believe it. Tell me why it's a good idea. Singing, we have...
You couldn't believe it, says Gillian Keegan, the woman put up by the government to justify it. You couldn't believe it, Kay.
Singing, we haven't even had singing back in churches yet. Singing is because the airborne elements of the virus is accelerated by singing. That's, we get back to the simple... We get back to...
What about dancing is right, Kay. I don't think you... Yeah, but you do tend to sing when you dance.
The simple rules. Well, I guess it's hard to keep your space if people are moving and you don't know how someone else is going to move when you're dancing. I think there is probably some reasons.
Do you acknowledge how
sense.
ridiculous this sounds?
No, I think it's common sense. I think it's common sense. If you put a lot of people together and say, all of you can move, but all of you have to keep 2 metres apart, I think it's common sense.
Even though only 3.2% of COVID cases come from that environment?
Will come from the hospitality environment in terms of the pubs. The pubs have been made very COVID secure and restaurants have been made very COVID secure.
So why not let them stay open until after 10 p.m?
Well, they can stay open up till 10 p.m.
Yeah, but why not afterwards if they're very COVID
because
secure?
Because we, at the moment, have a doubling in case rate every 10 days.
But not from that industry.
Well, it is from socialising, and socialising happens in those
But they're COVID secure. You've just said
they are COVID secure.
So why not let them go past 10 p.m?
Because right now we are trying to limit the amount of socialising.
Yeah. Again, Kay had her on the ropes, but time constraints meant she had to move on. It's just arbitrary nonsense, isn't it? And you know, the sad thing is, not long after Burley interviewed Gillian Keegan, a nightclub owner came on, a DJ came on. They were almost in tears. They were emotional. Their business is going down the toilet. Going down the toilet. And you have idiots like Gillian Keegan saying we have to ban singing because it promotes the airborne particles of the virus when you sing. 20 and a half minutes past the hour. Let's stay with Kay Burley, that is, because she speaks to a doctor called David Lloyd, GP. Every week she brings him on. They have a cosy relationship. They get on well. That's not a problem. Burley was referencing stories in the press that people are really worried they won't be able to get the flu jab. In fact, I've got one such story here, open in front of me on my screen. Some GPs, according to the BBC, and pharmacies have already run out of flu jabs, and they are asking people to wait until more stock can be delivered. Boots, which is a big high street pharmacy in the UK, Boots said the vaccine is in very high demand. We've had to suspend bookings. So Kay Burley was referencing these stories to David Lloyd. She said people are worried they can't get the flu jab. There won't be enough to go around. So he talked about that, and then he said this.
So yes, there are huge issues, but we're all working very hard, and we really do want to get everybody vaccinated. We don't want anybody thinking that the vaccine is harmful, that it's going to muck up their chances if they get COVID. We really want to get everybody vaccinated so that we can concentrate on the other epidemic, which is slightly concerning us as well.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that, because we're, of course, going to come on to that next. It does look as though for the last couple of days, those figures have started to drop again, those that have contracted coronavirus. That can only be good news. What are we putting that down to?
Case numbers seem to be going down in the last day or two, says Kay. What does David think?
Well, it may be that the new restrictions on our movements and mixing is having an effect. It may be that the virus is not quite so prevalent around the country. But these are small numbers, don't forget. So statistically, these little blips and ups and downs are going to happen. One death or 5 hospital admissions in the 260 that happened yesterday is a significant percentage. So you're going to get this statistical variability. We've just got to watch the trend over the days and weeks and see what happens. And we've all got to stick to our social distancing and our mask wearing so that we know these things work and that we shouldn't let our guard slip so the virus slips through.
Don't let our guard down in case the virus slips through. This really interested me, this, about people being reluctant to get the vaccine, the flu vaccine, that is.
We don't want anybody thinking that the vaccine is harmful, that it's going to muck up their chances if they get COVID.
What does that mean? We don't want people to think the vaccine is harmful. Right, that's understandable, because the vaccine might be harmful. There's always a possibility when you take a vaccine, it might do you some harm. The flu vaccine, more often than not, it's just useless. It's the wrong vaccine, and they get it wrong all the time. They admit this. If you don't believe me, just put that into a search engine. But what was that he said about people think it might muck up their chances with COVID?
We don't want anybody thinking that the vaccine is harmful, that it's going to muck up their chances if they get COVID.
I think he's acknowledging the fact that there is a body of opinion in society whereby people think if I get the flu vaccine, I might end up getting sick. And it might make me more susceptible to COVID, whatever COVID is. David Lloyd on Kay Burley today. And we'll finish the news roundup with this for the moment. Very interesting conversation. Ian Collins, we heard a bit of the Ian Collins show yesterday because Peter Ebdon, the former world champion snooker player, was on, and he's a guest of ours as well. Peter was on there. Ian Collins today, during his programme, he takes calls, which is good. Edna phoned in. Edna is in her early 80s, and she doesn't want society to continue to go to rack and ruin, economically and otherwise, to protect her. Interesting stuff from Edna, an octogenarian.
Well, I'm over 80 and I have plenty of underlying health issues. but when you ask the question, how many people have got to die before lockdown can...
To endorse another lockdown,
yeah, as far as I'm concerned, as many as it takes, myself included. You just can't shut the world down. You were talking about cancer patients. My neighbour is one of those people who is mid-cancer treatment, and it's just stopped. And as for how I behave, I don't want the end of my life to be restricted and have to stay at home.
Sure.
And I've got 2 grandchildren that work in pubs during their university breaks, and I go down and visit them and have a drink. You just can't stop the world. I just don't understand it. That's all.
And it's interesting, even with underlying health conditions, you are still... I mean, you're over 80 and you have some underlying health conditions. There's still an 80% chance you're going to be all right, even if you got it.
Well, exactly. But even if I do get it, I'm not terribly concerned. I don't want to die of COVID.
You don't. Can I just say it? You don't sound over 80.
No, she sounds well, and I've heard that from a lot of elderly people. I don't mean personally, but I've seen it around the interweb, as it were, and I've heard it on various talk shows, the likes of Jeremy Vine on BBC Radio 2. I've heard it on Radio 5 Live, and I've even heard it on breakfast television. Senior citizens saying this is crazy. You know, not so much that we've had our day in the sun, no, but we are vulnerable because we're a bit older and because we might be dealing with other conditions. You can't expect everybody else basically to give up their lives and their health effectively to protect us. Interesting stuff. Right, let's take a tune. We should be, I say tentatively now, at the moment, we should be joined by Dr. Sucharit Bhakdi, the co-author of Corona False Alarm. He should be with me in about 5 minutes' time. It's all been arranged by the UK publisher. I'm looking forward to speaking with him. The book has gone viral. It'll be available here on October 1st. Later on in the show, the legendary Right Said Fred, Richard and Fred Fairbrass, will be live with us to chat not only about Trafalgar Square on Saturday, but also the entertainment business in general, how it's been affected by COVID, and much more besides. Here's the brand new single from Bruce the Boss Springsteen. This is Ghosts on the Richie Allen Radio Show. What a tune this is.